We all have friends that found themselves in various predicaments throughout our life. And you can look at somebody, and even if you take issue with their choices and what they've done, you can still sit up there and look at them and say they're a friend.
Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
It's down tonight.
The whole thing with Shannon Sharpe is actually crazy, because how are you even entertaining the conversation after put a big black baby in me? Put a big black baby in me? It's honestly giving that you just have like some sort of racist fetish. Like, you know how when people get with different races and they just play, you know, slave and owner. That's what it's giving when I was reading those text messages. Because what you mean 25,000 a cheek?
So Shannon Sharpe just cut off Stephen A. Smith completely. Yup, no calls, no texts, nothing. All because Stephen couldn't keep his mouth shut about Shannon's messy lawsuit situation. Here's what went down. When the lawsuit against Shannon first hit the blogs, Stephen A. didn't even try to play it cool. He was out here low-key throwing shade, making slick comments that made it sound like Shannon was already out the door at ESPN before anything official had even been said. People caught that real quick and started looking at Stephen sideways like, why you already talking like Shannon's career is over? But hold up.
You ain't gonna see me excoriating him. You ain't gonna see me disrespecting him. You're not gonna see me stripping him of my support. I can tell you what I think you right and you wrong about.
Fast forward a few days, and suddenly Stephen's doing a full 180 talking about, I believe Shannon is innocent. Now fans are calling cap. The switch up was too fast, too fake. And Shannon clearly ain't buying it either. Sources say he's not even acknowledging Stephen anymore. It's like he vanished from Shannon's contact list. And guess who else is speaking up? Even folks like rapper Mace are jumping in, calling Stephen A. straight up snake for flipping sides just because things got hot. They're saying he's only backing Shannon now that the backlash is coming for him. So is this the final curtain on their ESPN tag team? What really made Stephen A. flip like that? Let's dig into it.
It's a sad situation. Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. I am the executive producer of First Take on ESPN. I recruited Shannon. I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on. I can tell you, I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously, and we are looking into this very, very closely. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I have no idea what direction ESPN and Walt Disney will go in when it comes to this matter. All I do know is it won't be me making a decision. It'll be others upstairs. In the end, all of us have someone to answer to. No matter how maverick we try to be, and we own our own business, and we're our sole proprietors like I am on this platform and stuff like that. There are advertisers, there are sponsors, there are people you do business with, there are partners, and there are bosses. That's the situation, unfortunately, that Shannon Sharpe finds himself in.
So it's official, Shannon Sharpe didn't just fall back from Stephen A. Smith on air, he cut him off completely, and it's deeper than what we've seen. Behind the scenes, insiders say Shannon feels straight up betrayed after Stephen A. switched sides in the middle of this wild lawsuit mess. If you've been keeping up, you already know Shannon's getting sued by an OnlyFans model he was briefly linked to. She was 19 at the time. The whole situation's been making headlines, and instead of standing 10 toes down for his friend, Stephen A. was out here tossing shade and making it sound like Disney and ESPN were ready to kick Shannon to the curb before any official word came out. Now, all of a sudden, Stephen wants to act like he's Team Shannon? Please! Insiders close to Shannon are saying this flip-flop move was the last straw. And get this, sources claim Shannon's been feeling for a while that Stephen A. was secretly jealous, especially after Club Shay Shay blew up and started pulling crazy numbers like that viral Cat Williams interview. As Shannon's fame exploded outside ESPN, folks say Stephen's vibe got weird, shady even.
This 3-time Super Bowl champion and this Hall of Famer, who emphatically stated to me over the phone how innocent he is of these allegations that have been levied against him, insisting repeatedly that anything you read, anything you see, anything you hear was fully and totally consensual. In the same breath, what's inescapable is that without us knowing all the merits, he was working with Disney, where I've worked since 2003, excluding my departure from 2009 to 2011, when I was gone for those 2 years. Outside of that, I've been at Disney since October of 2003. I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that is ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. They didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there, it was uncomfortable to listen to. And it was not something that Walt Disney once associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say I am not surprised.
Now that the heat's on, Stephen's trying to backpedal and play the good guy. But Shannon ain't buying it. Word is, Shannon's not picking up any of Stephen A.'s calls, and folks in his circle say he's done with him for good. No more bro talk, no more behind-the-scenes convos. It's a wrap. Let's rewind for a second. When the whole scandal around Shannon first popped off, Stephen A. was quick to bring it up on his show, claiming he felt bad for Shannon. But the way he said it low-key sounded like he thought Shannon's career was already dead in the water, and Stephen didn't hit the brakes there. Right after the news leaked that Shannon was stepping away from ESPN, Stephen went right back on air and brought it up again, warning viewers that Disney doesn't play about their image. He straight up said that once they see you as a liability, it's over. Then came the slick disrespect. Stephen started shading Shannon for being too old to be out here wilding, acting like he was untouchable. And to top it off, he turned the whole segment into a self-promo moment, basically flexing how he's too smart to end up in the same mess. But here's where it really starts getting spicy. Fans weren't having it, and neither were celebs like Mace, who straight up called Stephen fake for throwing Shannon under the bus while trying to play innocent on TV.
People want to walk around thinking you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You could your own operation. You don't have to answer to anybody. That's not true. I've had people open their mouth and they've said, Stephen A., you work for ESPN. What kind of control do you really have? This is my podcast. This is my YouTube show. I own this. But if you think for 1 second that I could just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and there's not going to be any repercussions, you're clueless. And you're destined to fail and fall on your face. Some people sit up there and they look at me and they say, Stephen A. don't get himself in this kind of trouble. How does he pull it off? Well, first of all, there's certain behaviors and proclivities that you never have to worry about me engaging in. But most importantly than that, I often say this about Walt Disney. I'd rather work for a place with standards than one looking for them.
Now here's where the whole thing gets real suspicious. Out of nowhere, Stephen A. did a complete flip. Now he's out here defending Shannon, talking about, I believe he's innocent. But fans aren't letting that slide. People quickly called out the double standard. When Jay-Z got caught up in some serious accusations linked to one of Diddy's accusers, Stephen A. rushed to defend him like his rep was on the line. But when it came to Shannon, that same energy was missing. Totally different cases, sure, but still folks felt the way Stephen moved was mad shady. Even Mace wasn't quiet about it. He called Stephen out on his podcast, saying it was crazy how Shannon didn't know all the facts about Jay-Z either, but still backed him immediately. So why didn't Stephen do the same for Shannon, someone he's worked with and called a friend? But here's the real twist. Right after Mace's comments blew up online, Stephen A. suddenly switched his whole tone again. Now he's out here acting like he's the one fighting for Shannon. He pulled up to Big Boy's show talking about how it feels like Shannon's being set up, and even threw in some hints that people been jealous ever since Shannon's podcast lit up the internet after that explosive Cat Williams interview. But fans aren't buying it. They're calling Stephen A. out for being late to the loyalty party. A lecture on loyalty? From Stephen A! Please. He's the biggest flip-flopper in this entire mess. And now folks are dragging him for being fake. People are saying the only reason he's suddenly out here defending Shannon is because Mace exposed him for throwing Shannon under the bus to begin with.
Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs, a 13-year-old girl more than 20 years ago, after an award show after party. I am not going to sit here and dismiss or excoriate Mr. Busby or his client, who's anonymous at this particular moment in time, and the allegations that she has leveled against Jay-Z. I'm telling you, I've known this man for 25 years. And I'm saying for me, Stephen A. Smith, there is no way in hell I believe this about him. Anybody that's been around Jay-Z and knows him has seen him come to the defense of the most helpless amongst us, which are the children. I can't believe for 1 second that he would ever be associated with an allegation like this. And I felt it was important to bring that up because you got people out there. Stephen A., you have something to say about Diddy. Why aren't you going to have something to say about Jay-Z? Well, I don't know Diddy.
Let's not forget, Stephen was the first one to drop a full-on video about Shannon before Shannon even announced he was stepping away from ESPN. That move alone had fans giving Stephen the side-eye. One fan even said Stephen's halfway in, halfway out. His loyalty to Shannon is wild. It's borderline diabolical. And honestly, they're not wrong. Stephen went hard for Jay-Z. Full support, no hesitation. But with Shannon, he's out here backpedaling like his first take was some passionate defense. Nah, we all see the switch up, and people aren't letting it slide. Another fan chimed in, I said the same thing. The energy he had for Jay-Z was fierce, but when he talks about Shannon, it sounds like he already knows they're gonna fire him. That hit a nerve, and here's the kicker. Fans are saying Shannon doesn't even need Stephen's so-called defense. Even if parts of that lawsuit turn out to be false, the damage is already done.
I saw really was the interview with Stephen A. when he was speaking of it. And I was watching it very carefully, Killer.
Stephen A. said something about this already?
Yeah, because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
Yo,
in a nutshell, yeah.
I gotta keep it static, you know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't there for Jay-Z neither. You wasn't there for Jay-Z. You were not there for Jay-Z, but you went out on a limb because of the character of guy you know. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. I'm saying I would have thought that the same standard would be there, right? If for a guy you work with every day.
Let's be real. Even with all the drama around StephenA, a lot of people still aren't giving Shannon a free pass. At the end of the day, he's a 54-year-old man who got caught up with a 19-year-old and allegedly got involved in some controversial role play that raised a lot of eyebrows. So in the public eye, Shannon's not exactly looking like the victim here. And just when you thought things couldn't get any messier, now more women are speaking out, and it's starting to paint a disturbing pattern. According to reports from the U.S. Sun, Shannon's ex-girlfriend, Michelle Evans, filed a separate lawsuit with some serious claims that go way back. Evans says she and Shannon were in a long-term relationship nearly a decade, and in 2010, everything went left after she confronted him about cheating. That's when she claims things escalated into a situation that turned violent and violating. In the lawsuit, filed in late 2023, Michelle accuses Shannon of threatening her and trying to intimidate her into silence. She described a moment where she was allegedly physically overpowered and forced into a situation she didn't consent to. According to the documents, she says she was terrified and confused by what was happening and didn't feel safe speaking out until now.
Right, and once you reached a certain stature, it's like the old folks always used to tell you, boy, don't let that money go to your head, right? And now, a lot of times, people just are who they are. And you're looking at Shannon, his brand has never really been anything that said he might not be into some of the things that we're learning, right? You could go back to the IG Live, or you could listen to some of the things that he promotes as sponsors of his show, or just certain ways he talks about women during nightcap or whatever it is, right? Like, Unc ain't never hid that.
Evans said she was terrified to resist because she feared things would only get worse. In her lawsuit, she claims Shannon's behavior escalated, that he forced her onto the bed and carried out a non-consensual act, all while allegedly saying things like, "I'll make sure no other man ever wants you." Those words alone left people stunned, but it didn't stop there. Evans says that after the incident, Shannon threatened her into silence, warning that he had powerful connections and would use them to ruin her if she ever spoke out. That's when she decided to take legal action, filing for a restraining order back when Shannon was still working with CBS Sports. In the filing, Evans accused Shannon of constantly calling her with threats, watching her movements, and telling her flat out that he was monitoring her. It painted a chilling picture, one that many say never got the attention it deserved. And after the restraining order and those disturbing allegations surfaced in 2010, Shannon quietly stepped away from his role at CBS. But instead of being held accountable, the whole situation seemed to disappear from headlines, and his career didn't just survive, it skyrocketed. Now, years later, Michelle Evans is back with a defamation lawsuit. She says Shannon publicly brought up their past legal drama on TV and in public, which she claims caused emotional damage and wrecked her reputation.
Sounds like a setup. But if you sit back and look at the overall situation, you say this ain't no setup. This is a who been in the lead and been amongst elite blacks and white people for most of his life. He live in a white community. He been around white people for over 30 years. Boy got a thing for white. He like young white. He really want a 17-year-old, but he can't. He's an 18-year-old or 20-year-old. So here it is, he at the gym working out. He's showing up at the gym with them big old black legs, that big old print showing in them sweatpants, squatting, sweating out his ass with them big old muscles. Now here it is, this little white girl over there on the treadmill. They making eye contact. Who set that up? Who put her there? Who put him there? And who knew they was gonna be attracted to each other to start? Who set that up? Now, if you watch his interview and you sit back and listen to him and Ocho Cinco talk, and he talk about what he do and what he don't do, well, you see he a weenie with the women. He really mean to women. You sit back, man, I don't do this, I don't do, nah, man, you mean to women. You ain't no Matt. You don't even know how to sweet talk women. So you see he really a weenie to women. He just got a big old black with the big old muscle. But he's not a charming man. You see, man, he mean, authoritative, and he regimented. No, he's not appealing. So the white girl just playing off the big black. He ain't handsome. He ain't the handsomest big black in the world, and he look like a gorilla. Big black gorilla, silverback. And he mean. So she figures she getting this big black But in the process of getting this big old black, he mean, you know, I'm gonna choke you when I see you tomorrow. Man, just that's all. Yeah, just a baby. You try to. So she don't want to be treated like a grown woman. She just wants this big old black and let her be irresponsible. He trying to make her responsible and all that other. So now ain't nobody set that up, man.
Michelle Evans is also speaking up in support of Gabriella Zinga, the OnlyFans model who's suing Shannon. And what she's saying has fans furious. Evans claims Shannon exposed Gabriella's identity on purpose to mess with her credibility. She told the US Sun, "I want people to understand what Shannon did to this woman. By doxing her, by putting out her name, by putting out her OnlyFans account, and that was horrifying because now things are gonna happen to her because of that." And with that, a lot of people have officially stopped feeling bad for Shannon. Fans are saying these latest allegations are lining up with a pattern, and they're calling it out for what it is. Even people in the sports world are speaking up. Former NFL player and ESPN analyst Ryan Clark said Shannon's alleged behavior isn't shocking at all. It actually lines up with the bold, sometimes wild persona he's been pushing for years. And then, Charleston White stepped in with a blunt take, saying folks need to stop acting like Shannon was set up. According to him, Shannon set himself up by messing with a woman young enough to be his granddaughter. That comment set the internet on fire. Now, more receipts are starting to surface about Shannon's wild behavior behind the scenes, and more people are saying this new lawsuit is just another piece of a disturbing puzzle. One clip that's been blowing up online shows Shannon completely losing it mid-podcast. During the April 30th episode of Nightcap with co-host Chad Ochocinco Johnson and guest Joe Johnson, things got tense while they were talking about the 2025 NFL Draft. Out of nowhere, Shannon snapped, looked off camera, and yelled, "Shut the F up." The moment was loud, raw, and real, and instantly went viral. People online were quick to point out how this outburst only adds fuel to the chatter about Shannon's emotional state and rumored anger issues. It's just more heat on top of everything else that's already come out since the lawsuit dropped. And at this point, sympathy for Shannon is basically gone. Folks are saying he made his bed, and now he's got a lie in it. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith isn't exactly helping. Fans are dragging him for being a straight-up flip-flopper. And some are even suggesting he's loving all the drama. Instead of staying quiet or supporting in private, Stephen's been using his show to keep the spotlight locked on Shannon. Some fans are saying if Stephen really cared, he wouldn't be making a whole episode about it. He'd just keep it pushing. But nope, he went on air for nearly half an hour, talking about how Disney and ESPN don't tolerate this kind of behavior. One fan didn't hold back, saying, "Stephen A. is the kind of guy who tells the boss you were late just to take your job. Natural-born snake." And another added, "If Stephen A. Smith really wants to help Shannon, all he needs to do is shut up. Running his mouth like this ain't helping at all. But now, we want to hear from you." What's your take on Stephen A. flipping the script and suddenly calling Shannon his friend after he was the one talking like Shannon's career was already toast? Was Mace right? Is Stephen A. out here showing double standards and fake loyalty? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're feeling the drama, the truth, and the receipts, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Smash that notification bell so you never miss the next drop. And trust, we've got more heat coming real soon. See you on the next one.